This is Tamika Seaton, President and CEO of Grow Your Nonprofit, where we help small, startup, and stagnant nonprofits grow through fundraising strategies, strategic planning, and so much more. Today, we are going to sit down with Darla Bonk. She is the City of Fort Myers Councilwoman for Ward 6. We're going to talk about her background and experience with corporate America, transitioning over to nonprofits, and going into business for herself along with her husband, and how she's been successful. You are in for a treat. She is creative. She is smart. But before we get into our interview, I'd like to thank the sponsors of my podcast. Hodges University, with a campus in Fort Myers. Stay near, go far. They changed lives for the better. Trinity Life Foundation Naples, helping at-risk youth in Collier County through their enrichment program. AVID, that stands for the Associations of Haitians Living Abroad. They just opened an amazing support center where they will help you with immigration support, utility, rental assistance, and so much more. Last but not least, Vax Truth. They received a grant from the CDC to raise the awareness of COVID-19 and community resources in the Black and Brown communities. So without further ado, let's jump right into the conversation. So you mentioned that when you were with American Cancer Society, you were there during 2008, and as we know, everything crashed. Mm-hmm. Housing, people were upside down in their house, and things were pretty challenging. I'm sure they were challenging from a nonprofit perspective. How were you able to continue to be sustainable and raise money during those tough times?
The biggest thing I had to keep in mind was I'm going to have to drive the ship with our staff, first of all. So if I have this poor me, oh my gosh, this is insurmountable, the odds are stacked against us.
Right.
They're going to adopt that negative mentality really quick, mob mentality, right? So for me, I had to remind myself, what is the mission? Mm-hmm. Cancer doesn't care that there's a recession. Right. Cancer doesn't care that people have lost their homes. Cancer doesn't care. And so if cancer doesn't care, I can't not care.
Right.
And so I had to just remember the battle is not with people or with what's going on. The battle's with this disease that's killing people and loved ones. And it's not stopping, so I can't stop. And so every day I would really just encourage our team. We have to motivate our volunteers, and because it's an army of volunteers that helps get that job done, and going out and really presenting the opportunity for still supporting a cause in spite of what's going on with you and your loved ones. Or folks, remember when your loved one was going through this. Right. How did the services that the American Cancer Society have impact your family, help your family? So it was taking it off of, we don't have money right now because of the recession, and reminding them, how did this organization help you before? How is this organization helping you now? How is your loved one benefiting from what's happening? And then it was really from there just doing dogged determination, legwork, pounding on the pavement, knocking on doors of finding new sponsors, finding new companies who did make money during the recession, and finding those recession-proof companies that can say, hey, here's a cause you need to be invested in and involved with, but finding those trigger points that made them want to become involved with. And it wasn't just, hey, come sponsor our event, or hey, come sponsor our company. It was, here is the ROI you're going to get. Talking business to business. Here is how you're going to do this. And I think that's where a lot of nonprofits struggle, where this is a great organization to give. It's a great cause. There's thousands of great causes. Yeah. You've got to make your voice be the loudest. Why is your cause the most important? And what is someone going to get out of their donor dollars by giving to you? And you've got to think strategically. You've got to think in a business mindset, especially in a downturn like a recession.
Exactly. So two things jumped out at me when you were speaking. Number one, I'm curious as to what are the recession-proof businesses? And number two, communication.
Yeah.
So that communication is very important because it reminds me of Hurricane Irma. A lot of nonprofits had to lay off staff. A lot of nonprofits lost a lot of money because they were heavily event-driven. And the nonprofits who were brave, I actually had a few clients who procured our services for virtual events. They actually raised more money than they did when they had an event because, you know, you don't have all the costs associated with it. But a lot of nonprofits they didn't communicate with their donors, because guess what? The need is even greater. They, in their mind, they're dealing with the hurricane and they probably don't have the money. You don't know that.
That's right.
They may not be able to give as much, but they still want to help.
Right.
So what was your communication strategy with your donors? And then we can't forget about the recession-proof businesses, because I'm so curious about that.
Yeah, so just quickly, your recession-proof businesses for us at that time were grocery stores. Everybody still goes to the grocery store.
Grocery stores.
People still go to the gas station. Your 7-Eleven. You've got people who own about 10 or 12 of them locally.
Wow.
What you need, $1,000, $5,000, okay. Your pharmaceutical companies. People still have to take their meds.
Yeah.
So you just think through, what are the things, even during COVID?
Yeah.
What are the things I still went out and purchased?
Yeah.
Go find those companies that produce those pieces. So for us, we had a company, we were doing an event, and we had a company called Lisar, and the CEO of that company was chairing our event. Mm-hmm. And so Lisar, for those of you who may not be
they're down the
Southwest
street.
Florida, they're down the street from here, but they produce medical supplies and things that hospitals need. And so there was 3 hospitals that they were supporting at that time, but they also had pharmaceutical companies. Mm-hmm. And so he and his wife gave, and then they went to each and every single one of their vendors.
Wow.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
You go ask 5 people, okay? And then they had them go and ask.
Oh,
for 5
I
vendors.
love it.
So before we knew it, the local people who had always given to me, I didn't even have to. Wow. I needed to go to them to keep that connection, but I had the event covered and the cost of everything already covered from that. And then the other piece of that in building the connections and communication strategy is, don't just think about your money. Yes, you have to have money to make the organization run, but for an event, you had so much money that goes just to putting on an event.
Yes.
How much of every dollar actually goes back to the mission? And you better know that.
Yes.
I could answer every single one of those questions. So I would go to folks who I knew had the things I needed to have an event. Who can go and donate a tent to me? Who can go donate tables and chairs, because your church is now closed, unfortunately, and I'm so sorry for that. Can I borrow your tables and chairs? Ooh. What are the things that you can go get donated to you? Not just your auction items and not just this, but to put on the event. Hey, you are a struggling company, but you can do DJ and lighting and sound and all that. Come here and do this, but it'll give you exposure to 600 guests. So you've got to think strategically in that. And then with my existing donors and existing companies that were sponsors of us, what can you do? What are you able to do? Not just, hey, I'm coming back for my $10,000 check again this year, because that's what you get. And then what I started doing was creating multi-year sponsorships. Ooh. So, okay, you can't give $25,000 like you used to, but for the next 5 years, will you give me $5,000? Yeah. Okay, so I know I've got that $25,000. It's spread out. Now, how much more do I need to go get? Where else can I go get it? Can you do a 2-year sponsorship of this event? Can you commit to doing this? So it's not just for this event, or be a table sponsor, or be this. If you're going to buy a table this year, buy me a table for the next 3 years. Oh, and by the way, don't just let this be an employee appreciation. I need you to bring donors and buyers to the event. So for the next 3 years, I've got 4 or 5 tables from this company, and they're bringing their top vendors, their top VIP people. So now I've increased the amount of buying capacity in that event, not just, we bought a table and you're coming in and half your tables are empty because your employees didn't show up.
Right. Wow, I really like that. And I always emphasize the importance of running your nonprofit like a business. And
absolutely.
I have to say, you knocked it out of the park.
Well, thank you.
I like that outside of the box strategic thinking.
Yep.
Because oftentimes nonprofits, they just think about the transaction. We have to sell these many tickets. We need to get these sponsors sold. But then the sponsors bring people who really don't give or have the capacity to give. They're coming because they were invited by the sponsors.
Right. Yep.
And then most of the time there's no follow-up. So is your plan after the event? You've collected all of these new email addresses, all these new potential donors. Can we get them involved some sort of way or become donors? Because I always believe in transferring the relationship. So if you're my donor, you decide your cause now is childhood obesity, right? Once you're gone, all the other people that came along with you are gone, But if I transfer that relationship with some of the other guests that attended with you, they could potentially stay because they still believe in your mission. That's really cool. So what advice could you give to new nonprofits, small nonprofits, and stagnant nonprofits they're just spinning their wheels and they're just not growing? How could they get on a cycle of growth?
Great question. I could give this answer for days and days. First thing, when you're looking at your donor base and you keep going back to the well, if they're not giving, ask them why.
Why? Huh.
I understand that you've moved on to another charity. Can I ask what made you change? A lot of times it's just, well, this is just now our interest and we got not bored, but this just isn't sexy anymore. Now we want to go to the new charity in town and everybody supports that and what have you, and get in the, the charity pages in the paper so we can say we're at this event. May not have anything to do with you, but you may along the way find out, hey, your expenses are too high now, or I want to make sure more of every dollar is going actually to the mission. Your admin costs are too high. Whatever those may be, don't be afraid to ask for information because they've been involved for so long and now they're not. And you could also say, okay, you've moved on to another charity. Do you know anybody that you could connect me to that has a tie to cancer or to childhood obesity or whatever it may be? Would you be willing to make that connection for me? Replace one, so you're replacing that lost dollar. And then I'd also look at, new and upcoming companies coming into the market. Read your papers, read your local magazines, look at that stuff. Who's coming in? What are they doing? What are they trying to accomplish? Are they hiring people? If it's a new company, get in there from the ground up and say, will you please make us your charity of choice? As your employees are donating time and you're giving them volunteer time off, will you give them time for our charity? Will you do that for us? And become a charity of choice to some of these new businesses. There's just all kinds of things. Don't be afraid to go ask for money. Don't be afraid to go reach out to somebody that you don't know. And don't be afraid to go ask your old donors, why did they walk?
I like that. I have to say this, and I've never said this before. I think the nonprofit world suffered a big loss when you stepped away.
Oh, goodness. Thank you so much.
No, seriously. I'm like, wow, this a lot of information you're sharing today is like I've never heard anyone say that before. And it's right here because you're just brilliant, right? You're just brilliant, because that's like some of the stuff I didn't even think of. I'm like, wow, because in the nonprofit consulting world and the nonprofit world, as executive director, we have the same suit that we wore over and over again. But I mean, it's like either you have it or you don't, but you talk about outside the box thinking.
Oh, goodness. Thank you.
I mean, you get an award for that.
Thank you very much.
So kudos to you. That is amazing.
Thank you.
So before we wrap up, I'd like to get your opinion, because I might have to call you often for advice because you're amazing.
But that's what makes our community great, right? We celebrate each other. Yeah. We want to help each other be successful, and that's what makes it great, And you inspire somebody, and then it re-inspires you. And that's it. That's what we're doing. You know what I mean, that's what makes it great.
So, as you know, COVID-19 changed the game all around, especially here in Southwest Florida. People could work remotely, so people started moving here. The price of housing has gone up, so we have a new set of donors, right? So my question to you is, how does a nonprofit tap into these new donors who are coming here from up north and all over the world, who are buying homes cash and they have the disposable income? How does one find these donors? Or the donors finding their causes themselves? Fabulous
question. This is where I wish I was still at a nonprofit, because I'd be banging on their doors. There are buying and marketing trends that you can see for people coming into a new market. You can reach out to the Lee County or your county's economic development office and say, where are these people coming from? What is their average age? What is the average income? Finding out where a lot of them are going. You can see increase in business revenue. For example, your 20-something, 30-something yuppie folks who are coming from Seattle and from San Francisco and Boston and Charlotte who love microbreweries Go hang out at the breweries, go talk to them, get to know the staff, get to know some of these new places that people are going to, and start to talk to people. There's wonderful, chamber events and after hours events, but where are people hanging out? Where are the restaurants they're hanging out? Go talk to somebody while you're sitting next to them at the bar. Hey, how are you? Great. What did you order to drink? That looks great. And get to talk to people. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens one person at a time. Yeah. And you don't raise the money fast. You raise the money slow, but it's doing something every single day. And you get to that finish line a lot faster than you thought you would have. Yeah. A lot of other things that I notice is, what are some of the websites people go to, the next doors of the world? What are the Facebook groups people go to, young professional groups? Where are people going? And find out where they're going. Where are employees of your big companies like Gartners of the world? Where do they go and hang out? Find out somebody there in your marketing department. Where are your employees hanging out? What are your employees looking to do? Call somebody up at those companies and saying, what are the things that your employees enjoy doing so far that are from outside the area? And go to those places and just start talking to the people. You don't get anywhere keeping your mouth shut.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I actually was just talking last month to a realtor friend who, she does okay. And we were at a restaurant downtown Naples on Fifth Avenue. And it was a high-end restaurant. And, we were on the dance floor and she started dancing with someone and they kind of started talking and they asked what she does and she gave them their card. And I said, if I were you, and she's a single woman, I said I would go to these restaurants at least once a week and I would sit at the bar, because when I was single, I would sit at the bar and I would meet some amazing,
great people,
great couples. And guess what? They have money. They're at these expensive restaurants.
Paying $25 a drink.
Exactly. And she said, oh, that's not my style. I don't like to drink. I said, get a cranberry and throw a lime in there and make it look like alcohol. That's right. And just sit there and meet. Oh, I don't like these kind of places. And I said, okay, I just shut my mouth. Yeah. I just shut my mouth. Yeah. But it's really amazing. I wish we could talk all day.
I know.
I will definitely be inviting you back because I personally learned a lot from you. And I like how creative you are. That's just like, it just blew me away. But one other thing I am curious about, you mentioned that you and your husband have a company of manufactured roof or fabricated roofing?
Yeah, so our company's called Architectural Metal Flashings, nice and long and inconvenient, but we fabricate and manufacture anything that's made of metal that goes up on a roof. So whether it's commercial or residential, we sell it and distribute it to companies like big supply chains who then sell it to roofers who then go and put it on your roof. So if you need downspouts or gutters or you have a metal panel roof, there's a good chance we've made it. So Babcock Ranch, that's a community out here. All of our metal is out there. The new Porsche dealership down in Naples, it's all of our metal. We don't install, so if you had bad roof installments, don't come for me. But we do manufacture, and then it gets shipped all over the country and then sold.
Wow, that is so amazing, so amazing. Can you share with our audience how they could reach you? Any way you want to provide that information.
So easy, I'm on Facebook, Darla Bonk, Instagram, Darla Bonk, Twitter, my old maiden name, Darla Betzer, and then you can reach me at 239-322-7251. That's my personal cell, and my email is darlab@amflashings.com.
And also, you have to catch Darla. She and her husband have a podcast called On Your Way. How could they listen to your episodes?
So you can go to anywhere that podcasts are and just search for the words On Your Way, and you'll see our first 2 seasons are out, and season 3 will be coming in the summer. And guys, you're in for a treat. Darla, in the next couple of weeks, she told me she's going to start with video. I'm putting you out there. See, I learned from you today. She's called me out.
And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You have been truly blessed today with the knowledge of this amazing woman right here beside me. She is like, let me stop. This is just so amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll be back with more great information on how to grow your nonprofit. you.